In 1983, Kevin creates a virtual universe known as the Tron system. Part of this system is known as the grid, which is an environment where experimentation can happen much faster than the real world. Kevin even manages to break his body down into digital information and transports it right into the grid. In 1989, Kevin mysteriously disappears after the death of his wife and leaves his fortune to his son, Sam. In 2010, Sam finds his father inside the grid, but Kevin has to sacrifice himself to save his son. Now in 2025, the companies NCOM and Dillinger Systems are fighting for control of the grid. NCOM is currently run by sisters Eve and Tess because Sam resigned for personal reasons. The CEO of Dillinger Systems is Julian, who wants to restore the legacy of the Dillinger family. In the grid, a program named Ares is put through constant training. He fights all the programs that attack him at the same time and shows remarkable skill in defeating them all without any difficulties. One day, Ares wakes up to discover that his disc has received an upgrade. Suddenly, a big face appears in front of him, introducing himself as Ares' creator. It turns out Ares was created by Julian to be security software for Dillinger Systems. Julian calls Ares his master control. That night, Julian makes a special presentation for a group of investors. After everyone puts on safety glasses, an enormous device activates multiple lasers that build a tank in the middle of the room. This tank is fully armed and ready for war. Julian explains that it was designed in the grid and brought to life by the lasers, so this technology could arm a whole team in a few minutes. He also says that they could produce the soldiers themselves and opens the tank to reveal Ares, pointing out that he's super strong, fast, and intelligent. Ares is also proprietary and completely expendable, making him the ultimate soldier. He needs no water or food, and he doesn't bleed. If he's defeated during battle, Julian can just make another one. He also promises that advanced fail-safe mechanisms are in place to avoid losing control of him. At that moment, some thunder can be heard, and Ares does a quick scan to conclude that it'll rain soon, which makes everyone laugh. All the investors are very impressed by the presentation and look forward to working with Julian. After the investors leave, Ares goes outside and admires a firefly in the rain since he never experienced nature before. Suddenly, Ares and the tank dissolve on the spot, and it's revealed that programs can only last 29 minutes in the real world. Julian's mother, Elizabeth, warns him that deceiving the investors is a terrible idea, but Julian is certain that he can find the permanence code, which should allow programs to stay in the real world forever. Elizabeth reminds him that if he doesn't get a win in 6 months, the board will fire him. In Alaska, Eve arrives at a private station that was set up by Kevin and was later used by her sister Tess, who has died of cancer. Eve watches an encouraging message that Tess left her on the computer before she's joined by her friend Seth. Tess spent a lot of time searching for the permanence code in Kevin's old files, and now Eve and Seth will continue her mission. After 4 days of living in that freezing environment and searching dozens of old cassettes, the duo is excited to finally find a mysterious code shaped like a double helix. To test it, they design an orange tree in the grid and bring it to real life with lasers. Then they keep track of time and are happy to confirm that the tree stays up after the 29 minutes pass. Meanwhile, Ares returns to the grid quite shaken. He can't stop thinking about Julian's speech and how he was treated as an expendable toy. His second-in-command, Athena, asks him about the experience, and Ares tells her how interesting the rain was, saying it felt very different from previous visits to the real world. Athena doesn't understand what he means by feel. The following night, there's a big NCOM event for the launch of their latest game. Chief Technology Officer AJ is worried because he hasn't heard from Eve for days, and the media is talking about her absence from the event. In the meantime, Elizabeth discovers that Julian is hacking NCOM because he knows that Eve is after the code, too. Elizabeth thinks it's too risky, but Julian ignores her and sends his programs to extract Eve's user file. Soon, Ares, Athena, and other soldier programs are breaking into the NCOM servers in the grid. A special device opens a hole in the side of the building for them to enter, and in the real world, a guard receives a breach alert. The Dillinger team quickly brings down the digital guards on the server, and Ares goes into the information block, which grants Julian full access. As NCOM activates containment protocols, Ares is distracted by a video of an interview with Eve, who has a much more humane approach to programs and their connection to humanity. This distraction blocks Julian for a few seconds, but Ares snaps out of it and finally acquires the file. The team then tries to leave. However, NCOM security programs arrive to stop them. A ferocious battle begins, and even though NCOM has more soldiers, the superiority of Dillinger's soldiers is clear. Their amazing skills allow them to easily fight the guards, and soon they're escaping by summoning hang gliders. Ares stays back when he notices that one of his teammates is still fighting and even gets hurt. Athena thinks they should leave him, but Ares goes back and quickly fights the remaining guards to rescue his fellow soldier. Julian doesn't like seeing his programs fail and drops a payload on the server, which causes a big explosion that disables the NCOM grid, but also the soldiers. This destroys AJ's presentation too, and the event is cancelled. Sometime later, Ares wakes up in his room and notices that the wounded soldier wasn't revived. He asks Julian about it and learns that failures will always be deleted, which leaves him quite disturbed. Julian gives Ares a new mission. He must locate Eve. Afterward, Julian gets a call from AJ, who is angry about what happened and threatens to tell the investors about the 29-minute limit. Julian tries to taunt him about Eve missing, but soon he gets angry and hangs up. Sometime later, Eve and Seth leave Alaska with the oranges they brought from the grid. Once they're on the plane, their phones get service again, and AJ can finally call Eve to rant about what happened. Eve calms him down by telling him that she's found the code. Meanwhile, Ares goes through all of Eve's files and learns about her life. He watches videos of her vacations, but also of how she lived through her sister's cancer and the grief that it caused. After searching through thousands of files, Ares finds the tree in Alaska and sends the information to Julian. He immediately brings Ares, Athena, and a pair of advanced bikes to the real world and sends them to find Eve in 29 minutes. In the city, Eve leaves her private airport on a bike, and soon the security cameras on the streets find her location. Ares and Athena go after her, and Eve speeds up when she notices that she's being followed, which gets the attention of the cops. However, when the police car tries to join the chase, the soldiers activate a beam on their bikes that cuts the vehicle in two. Eve tries to go faster, but finds Athena getting too close, so she makes a sudden turn to get off the highway. This forces a bus to suddenly stop and block the road, leaving Ares behind. Athena continues to chase after Eve on the street and follows her into a parking garage. Eve hides behind some cars, and when she sees Athena coming up the ramp, she throws her bike at her to bring her down. Ares receives an alert and rushes to the location. Athena recovers quickly and starts going up the ramp on foot. So, Eve steals her bike and quickly takes off. When Eve returns to the street, Ares catches up to her and the chase continues. He tries to block her using the laser beam, but Eve manages to dodge it just in time. Although she breaks other cars in the process, Ares is moving faster and finds the road blocked by a car with a baby, so he has to stop. This allows Eve to move ahead. Julian is following everything on his computer and isn't happy with his soldiers failing, so he sends out his men. After trying a bunch of buttons, Eve manages to activate the laser beam, too. However, Ares knows how to dodge it and speeds up to drive side by side with her. Both of them avoid other drivers, but the beams cause accidents anyway. They start bumping into each other before they accidentally drive right through a gate and a pile of trash, which causes them both to crash. Eve lands safely inside a trash container and immediately jumps out to start running. Ares follows her on foot, too, since both of the bikes are down. They make it to the docks and Eve finds herself cornered, so she breaks the drive with the code and throws it into the water. When Ares approaches her, he starts feeling weak as the time runs out and Eve finally realizes he's a program. Ares senses an empathic reaction right before he and Athena disappear back into the digital world. At the same time, a helicopter appears and Julian's henchman uses a special laser that digitalizes Ever to send her to the grid. The damage caused by the chase appears all over the news, and Elizabeth says that Julian is being reckless. Julian points out that the world will forgive him when he reveals the code, but Elizabeth believes he isn't in control as he thinks he is. In the grid, Ares and Athena finish Eve's digitalization progress and activate her with an identity disk. They explain that the permanence code is inside her because having seen it once is enough, but a quick analysis reveals that extracting the code by force will kill her. Athena doesn't care, but Ares stops the soldiers and messages Julian with his concerns. They have a chat in private and Julian reminds Ares that he's supposed to follow every order without complaint, so he wants the code no matter what happens to Eve. When Ares returns to the extraction room, he tells Athena that he couldn't talk to Julian because he's indisposed. So, they'll hold the extraction until they receive new orders. Ares sends the programs away and Athena immediately contacts Julian to tell him that Ares is malfunctioning. Julian orders her to get the code and kill both Ares and Eve, no matter what it takes. Meanwhile, Ares asks Eve who he should trust. Eve says that Julian can't be trusted because he considers everyone and everything to be expendable. At that moment, Athena returns with 2 soldiers who immediately get ready to attack. However, Ares drops his disc on the floor to open a hole that drops him and Eve on the outer grid. They hit many lights on their way down and end up landing in a dark liquid. Ares swims to her to grab her and uses a device to summon a bike that quickly gets them out of there. Athena realizes the duo is going to the transfer portal and sends out the drones. As they drive through the grid, Eve is amazed by all the lights and the coding. Ares explains that the transfer portal can send her back to the real world, but he'll only help her if she shares the code. He promises he doesn't want to help Julian anymore. He wants the code for himself. Soon, the drones catch up and activate the beams. So, Ares puts up a special shield around the bike. After Ares makes a big jump that leaves the drones behind, Eve agrees to take his deal. When the drones catch up to them again, Ares uses his disc to damage the tunnel, causing the debris to fall on top of the drones. A big explosion goes off behind the duo, but Ares drives fast enough to avoid getting hit, and they jump into the portal just in time. In the Dillinger offices, the laser device brings Ares and Eve to the real world. Julian sends out his men, but Ares easily brings them all down in seconds. Ignoring all of Julian's yelling, the duo steals a van and drives through a few gates to escape. Then, a furious Julian brings Athena to the real world, too, calling her the new Master Control. She's given a glider and a digitalizing gun to go after even Ares. After Athena is gone, Elizabeth slaps Julian. On the road, Eve tells Ares that she found the code in Kevin's files, so there should be a copy in Kevin's old system. However, Ares doesn't think they'll make it to the NCOM offices in 29 minutes in this old van, not to mention they'll need a digitalizing gun. Eve stops at a gas station and convinces the clerk to lend her his phone by showing him her photograph in a magazine. She calls Seth and tells him to be at the office with a digitalizing gun. Then, she and Ares take the clerk's fast car after she promises the guy that she'll wire him the money. The duo appears on the gas station security cameras so Athena can track them down. Ares drives incredibly fast, but his great reflexes make it easy to dodge all the cars. During the trip, he tells Eve about all the things he knows about her because he's read all his files, including her texts with her family. She tells him how hard it is to deal with love and grief, and Ares finally understands that Eve is continuing her sister's work because it keeps her connected to her. Outside the NCOM offices, Ares crashes the car to park faster. The duo meets with Seth, and they rush to the museum floor where Kevin's old computer is part of the exhibition. Once Eve has the code, Seth assembles the digitalizing gun. But before they can help Ares, Athena shows up. She doesn't attack though, and Ares realizes she's waiting for him to time out. He announces a change of plans and jumps through the window with the intention of fighting Athena, but Eve activates the gun anyway and sends him to Kevin's grid. Then, Athena crashes through the window, destroying most of the museum in the process. She notices that Ares has already been transferred, so she also breaks the gun to prevent him from coming back. Seth tries to attack her, but Athena punches him and sends him flying. He crashes into some arcade machines and passes out. Eve tries to run away, and Athena goes after her while destroying every machine in her path. Eventually, Athena manages to corner Eve, but at that moment, the sprinklers activate and Athena is very confused by the feeling of water on her body. This distraction causes her to time out, and she returns to the digital world. At the Dillinger offices, Julian is shocked to discover that Athena has forced the lasers to bring her back to the real world. He yells at her, but fails to stop her. Elizabeth joins them and announces that she's convinced the board to fire Julian, so she's regaining control of the company. Her first decision is to shut down the project, but Athena stabs her with her disc to kill her. Julian is devastated, yet Athena points out that she's just following his orders since Julian told her to finish the mission by any means necessary. Athena brings 2 soldiers and a powerful vehicle known as Recognizer to continue her mission. Julian rushes to a computer and tries to override the system to no avail. In the NCOM offices, AJ is shocked to see all the destruction. Eve explains what happened and convinces him to fix the gun. The group sees Athena coming in the distance, and Eve realizes that as long as Dillinger systems are up, Athena will keep coming. She tells AJ to use the gun that Athena dropped to hack into Dillinger systems and get rid of their grid while she goes out to buy some time. On the street, people panic at the sight of the Recognizer. Law enforcement tries to approach the recognizer with a helicopter, but Athena quickly shoots it down. Soon, the military shows up in jets. However, they're also brought down in seconds. Eve is running through the street, so Athena sends out a bunch of tracking missiles to find her. A desperate Eve manages to dodge a few of them, but sadly, the missiles still manage to form a light circle around her to trap her. At that moment, one of the military jets crashes into the recognizer's legs, causing it to lose control and crash into multiple buildings as it comes down. In Kevin's 80s grid, Ares encounters a bit and asks for its help. The bit makes an old-style bike appear and guides Ares to a secret area where he meets a program manifestation of Kevin. Ares explains he doesn't want the code only for himself anymore. He wants to live to protect Eve. Touched by Ares' words, Kevin decides to give him the permanence code by putting it into his disc. Ares then uses the disc to step into a ray of light that takes him to Kevin's old basement. In the city, Athena leaves the recognizer in a tank and quickly captures Eve. With only a few minutes left, Athena drives through every vehicle in her way to move faster. Suddenly, Ares appears in the middle of the road, and his suit glows in new colors to indicate he's free now. He throws his disc at the tank and makes it lose control. It crashes and comes apart as several cars crash nearby. Ares checks on Eve and confirms she's fine. Athena soon reappears with 2 soldier programs, and they start fighting Ares together. It's hard for him to fight programs that are on his level, but he at least manages to bring down the 2 soldiers, losing his disc in the process. Sadly, the fight leaves him weak and he's overpowered by Athena. When she's about to kill him, Eve throws the disc back to Ares and he blocks Athena's attack just in time. Athena and Ares continue to fight on the street. And this time, Ares has the upper hand. He cuts off Athena's hand and gets ready to end her. But at that moment, AJ hacks into the Dillinger system and destroys their grid. The missiles start falling around the city, and Ares holds Athena as she comes apart, turning into nothing but dust. Afterward, Ares tells Eve that the grid needs her, and he disappears before the police cars arrive. Later, the media covers the incident, and Dillinger Systems is already seen as the culprit. The police surround the Dillinger offices. So, Julian activates the lasers and sends himself to the grid before they can arrest him. As weeks pass, Eve uses the permanence code to help humanity by bringing food and medicine to the real world at just the push of a button. One day, she receives a postcard from Ares that reveals he's traveling the world in search of Sam and Cora, the only other program who ever escaped the grid. In the remains of the Dillinger grid, Julian finds a disc that used to belong to his grandfather. When he grabs it, his body is covered by armor. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.